Welcome back, Yu-Gi-Oh and Speed Duel fans. This is really exciting. We got some very unexpected news that happened today, and it actually happened yesterday. And I was checking out the news and Yu-Gi-Oh website, and this is what I found. What you found: Speed Duel skill card text and skill card rule updates. Now, this is really interesting because we've always talked about how the current meta and the format is very stale because there's nothing new. People are oppressed and depressed about how a couple of really powerful skill cards are currently in the game. And people have always been talking about these cards that, they should either be put on a ban list or something should be addressed, because there's a huge problem with some of these skill cards, and all three of these skill cards are basically addressed right here. And them being Inner Conflict, Twisted Personality, and also Cocoon of Ultra Evolution. These three skill cards are most played widely in the current meta, which really makes it very, let's just say, sometimes difficult to deal with when you have to play against all of the, and it's kind of boring because you're always facing one of the other three skill cards. Now right here, I don't know why they don't call it an errata. This is basically an errata done, but we have this page right here in the official yu-gioh.com website. I will include a link in the description box down below. This is legitimate news that we've got, probably because we ran a couple of remote duel extravaganzas for Speed Duel as main events, and over the course, I think Konami picked up from their surveys and their speculation, and they realized that these are finally need to be addressed. But anyways, let's quickly look into these news right here. Speed Duel specific. We're still a few months away from Speed Duel GX Duel Academy box. That's basically 3 months, 2 to 3 months from today, which is November. And but while we wait, they're gonna announce a few changes to the three of the most important skill cards and powerful, which they do acknowledge, knowing that it's way too powerful, with a new through explanation of its rules. So skill card text update. These changes will be effective as of today, November 1st, right now. So it's November 1st yesterday, so it's basically effective right now at this moment. The skill card text update for Cocoon of Ultra Evolution. So we all knew what this card right here is, just really powerful, really fueling the power for Moth decks, allowing them to turbo out and become really strong. And they go for massive OTKs, which it's not fun to play against at all times. It was really great and cool when it first came out, and this skill has stuck around for basically over, I think it's almost been 2 years. It basically stuck around for almost 2 years, and this skill is still being played, splashed into many different variations of the decks. We had the Warrior Moth back in the day. We have a Pure Moth that we could have played back then. I remember. And then now all the way today, some people play a Beatdown Moth, Dark Moth, and all these are still really relevant and really powerful. So anyways, let's go into the updated text. We all know what the previous text kind of does. Basically, we contribute an insect monster with an equipped card, special summon one insect monster from our deck in knowing summoning conditions, and flip this card over. And then this allows us, when we tribute a Parasite Paranoid, is it Parasite Paranoid? No, Parasite Paranoid. With Parasite Paranoid's effect, we can bring out another Moth from our hand if we have one, which is really crazy and way too powerful. So now the updated text is the same. So you can only use each once per duel. They just want to clarify that you can only use once each per duel, because I don't know. I mean, the statement here is the same, honestly, if you read these, so it's fine. You contribute a insect monster from either field with an equipped card. So same as before, if you do special summon one insect monster from your deck in knowing summoning conditions, so you can bring them off. It's just like that still. However, you cannot normal or special summon other monsters the turn you activate this skill and then flip this card over. This is the main change and the key important part for this skill. Basically, this denies you from using the Parasite Paranoid's effect being sent to the graveyard and then bring out your second Moth from your hand. That basically completely stops that, shuts that. I still think this skill is still really powerful because you can still remove one of your opponent's monsters to bring out something from your deck. It's still really good. But I think this does tone it down a little bit and does slow it down, which would probably be a bit more fair to play against. So I think that's okay. The second effect is exactly the same. You can still shuffle an insect back from your graveyard to your deck, draw one card. Now this Inner Conflict skill right here is the one that we want to talk about the most, because this one's been played basically ever since it first came out, just like the Cocoon, and everyone thinks it's great because you can just half your life points, take a monster, and do whatever you want with it. Other than attack directly, is just way too good right now. You know, people often will tribute it, run it into another monster or whatnot, you know, so it's very, very powerful. So we all know what it does. It's way too free because you can always use it regardless, and it's always a plus when you do, because having life points is just having life points. You know, there's not a huge cost to do it. You can always do it. So the updated text instead this time is, once per duel during your main phase, you can pay 2,000 life points. Now this is really important, really key, because 2,000 life points now is a lot to pay for in speed duel. Before, people can, you know, run with only like, you know, take a few hits, take a few damages, and pay half their life points. You know, life points can even be at 100 and half it and 50, and it's great value because at that moment in that game, it's free essentially. And take control of one of your opponent's monsters that can be normal, summoned, or set. Now this is really, really important, because now this wording is going to be very different, affecting the type of monster you can actually take. There's some monsters that are not normal summonable and cannot be set. Those you basically cannot take. So basically you can't take extra deck monsters because they cannot be normal, summon, or set, which does not meet the requirements. So basically that's really, really good. This skill right here, as just I'm reading it, it's just got a huge nerf, because you take it into the end phase, it cannot attack directly still, or it cannot be tributed this turn either. So you can't do your tribute summon shenanigans anymore, which is gonna be a huge hit right now. Now, projecting in the future, I can kind of see, you know, with fusions and maybe possibly synchros and more different various extra decks type of monsters do come in for speed duel, that will be very different, because if you can synchro summon, it's going to be pretty decent. But you know, the fact that, but then going back to having to pay 2,000 life points is just way too much at this point. You know, if you are anything, it's a huge cost. You know, if you're over 2,000, it's great. 2,100, you have to pay 2,000. You put yourself at 100, giving your opponent a huge advantage and putting yourself at a huge disadvantage just to take a monster that you can't really do much with at this point. So this skill really got a big nerf right here. I can kind of see this skill is not going to be played anymore at this point, or it forces inner conflict players to play a very early game aggressive approach. So yeah, it definitely changes everything. Anyways, let's go on to the next one, Twisted Personality. I think this is the weaker one compared to Cocoon and Inner Conflict, but it's still pretty oppressive and powerful. So just a quick rundown of what it used to do. Anytime when a player loses life points, you can basically put a counter on this card. Once per turn during your main phase, you can use one of the following skills. By removing 2 counters, you discard 1 random card from your opponent's hand. You can remove, if you remove 3, you can destroy 1 face-up card your opponent controls instead, which is also really, really good. But now it's updated that it's each time you lose life points. So not your opponent anymore, but only has to be you. You place 1 counter on this card. Maximum 3, just like before. Once per turn during your main phase, you can use the following skills. You can remove 2 to, again, discard 1 random card from your opponent's hand, or you can remove 3, then destroy 1 face-up card your opponent controls. Now, I think this is a pretty good adjustment, because Twisted Personality is not like really always amazing. It's been amazing, but you know, the fact that now it's, you know, you're limiting the requirements to only you as your own player who uses a skill can only sort of start racking up the counters, not your opponent, because before you could play Nightmare Wheel, you know, Mask of the Accursed, you can play Gravekeeper burn your opponent, you know, keep stacking Twisted Personality, and then go with Lava Golem. You know, you can also play Swordswoman, Amazon Swordswoman, you know, stuff like that, to sort of, you know, take advantage of your opponent losing life points and take even more advantage with Twisted Personality. Now it's completely the opposite. You know, it really slows it down. So I think these are really interesting, good calls by Konami. So now the most important thing, it's like, okay guys, what do I do with my current skill cards? I mean, you put this text update, Konami, and so you're basically making my cards useless. And what do I do about them? Because, you know, people are going to get confused. Not everyone's going to know about these news. Not everyone is going to know about the changes. and judges need to read cards to understand rulings, and there's no cards that are actually printed just yet. So don't worry not, which I think is a really good move by Konami, because they will be including these updated skill cards in the Speed Duel Tournament Pack 3. Now that's very interesting, because that means that Tournament Pack 3 is going to be coming. So people have rumored that the Pack 3 is coming, and I'm super excited because that means we're going to keep getting Speed Duel support. You know, small changes like this may not be much, but it's definitely great because it tells us that Konami is still interested in putting efforts and investing resources into this game somewhat. So even it says right here, it will be coming for March next year, which is absolutely fabulous. I would probably think it will be even better if they come along in February around with the GX box, because that will really push tournaments out for local scene, regional level, YCS, whatnot. So that will really push it at the same time. But maybe a month buffer, I'm okay with that as well, because in February, get 1 month to sort of play around with our cards, figure out the format, discover the top decks afterwards, and then, go really competitive, which I'm okay. And I hope they stick to these dates, because there's been a lot of delays lately with Konami, and I don't want to sound like I want to give some bad news, but there's a possible chance that we may get delayed for the GX box, especially speculating from all the main products that have been delayed so much so far this year. But anyways, let's put that aside. We'll find out until when it actually gets here. So remember to play your original copies of these skill cards as if they have the updated text. So, well, I'll tell you one thing, nobody's gonna play these skill cards anymore because they suck. Yep, so no need, don't worry about it. I'm just joking, but yeah, definitely keep in mind, keep this document in handy of you, maybe print it out, whatever, keep it on hand so you always can read these new effects, because it's big changes. They're not small, just like little adjustments of here and there. These are big changes for skills, and I never seen Konami did this before, but it's still a really good move, because we always debate that, okay, people were asking for, these skills need to be banned, these skills need to be banned. I think that would be interesting, if you just ban it out and rotate it in and out eventually and then ban it, it can do okay. But they seem to be really going towards a Duel Links direction of actually just straight up changing the skill, and then afterwards making sure the skill is accessible to everyone. That's the most important thing. Changing is fine, making erratas are great because it keeps the skill at least still a viable option. You're not straight out just like shunning it away and just like, hey, you can't play the skill no more, which Konami has always been doing. But erratums are great, but the second step of erratums is you have to make sure that players get access to it. make sure distributions, there's a good enough supply. Don't make these an ultra rare or secret rare. Like this is just gonna obviously like make us go crazy, but make them as a common, or hand them out, make them easily accessible so people can grab these so that they can have the updated versions. So that's really important. So speaking of skill cards, there's a few rules right here that they want to address. So for some of you guys who play Speed Duel for the longest, you guys already know what these rules kind of mean. But for some of you who are beginners, just a quick explanation. You're not really required to use skill cards, so you don't really have to. But if you do, you can only choose exactly one before each duel. I'm not sure what this statement really means. Does that mean we can put one in the side deck? Perhaps, maybe not at this point. I'm not sure. At the start of the duel, you play your you place your skill card face down in your field zone or extra deck. What next? Oh, next to, right? Okay, that's fine. So next to it. Okay, I almost misread that. I was like, what? Put it in the field zone and extra deck? No. But anyway, so you put it on the side, and then basically, unless the skill specifically tells you to put it in a specific place instead. So that's fine. That's basic rules. If this skill says it's a certain type of card, like it's type line, like continuous spell, continuous trap, then after the duel begins, it's always that type of cards, and follow all the rules for that type of card instead of the rule of the skill cards. Now this is really interesting, because we know there's a Call of the Haunted skill, and this is basically reflecting back to Duel Links. Because field spells, skills that act as field spells, I would assume that you can recur them, add them back to your hand, and activate it as a normal proper field spell. So a very good example is Heavy Metal Raiders, like I said, Call of the Haunted. If you have like Mask of Darkness or Magician of Faith, to grab them back from your graveyard, you can actually play them as a card that it says what it was. That's what I'm trying to assume, because in Duel Links, I remember that's what you can do. If a field spell was a skill, it goes to the graveyard, you somehow get it back to your hand, you can actually play it, which is good. Anyways, so during the duel, you can activate skill card by flipping it face up. If skill card tells you when to activate it, then that's only when you can activate it, where there is no chain. being built to resolve. If your skill card doesn't say when you can activate, you can only use it during your main phase when there's no chain being built resolved. Okay, that makes sense. That's basically standard rules. For more information how to determine when it's open game state, basically when nothing's happening and it's your turn, you can basically use that skill. It's almost just like a normal spell card essentially, I'd say. However, activating a skill that does not start a chain. Keep in mind, guys, this is a very important ruling. I think having a Duel Links background really sets you up to understanding how these things work with Speed Duel specifically. But for those, again, who don't play Duel Links, this is how it works. You can't respond to skill cards. You can't activate counter traps. You can't activate those kind of things to be like, oh, I use this. So basically what it means is now, however, which is very weird here, but if they use Cocoon of Ultra Evolution and special summon monster, after that monster is summoned, during the resolvement afterwards, and everything is done with the skill, you can actually activate stuff like Floodgate Trap Hole and Adhesion Trap Hole to sort of, not counter it, but like sort of activate it in response to the resolvement of the summon. Which I find that a little bit confusing, but okay, I guess it makes it a little bit better and nicer, so this is a very interesting ruling change because it definitely changes the way how we played it, because we definitely played it that you can't for a long time as well. Anyways, the sixth one, the skill card on your card can only be activated once per duel unless it says flip itself face down. If it does, the instructions of your skill cards. Anyways, so this is basically what the skill cards are gonna be, and this changes the current format is essentially, you know, the current format we know where Cocoon, I think Cocoon could still be played a lot. I think Cocoon's nerf is not as strong as compared to Inner Conflict and Twisted Personality, so I can kind of still see Cocoon being played. But this is where you guys come in. What do you guys think? What's going to happen to these skill cards? You know, are they completely going to be garbage and no one's going to be playing them? What other skill cards that are now that are sort of the underdogs that are going to be coming back up? You know, give me some examples. You know, definitely open to discussion, so be sure to comment down below. Super curious, super interested in what you guys have to say. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoy me rambling a little bit and talking about this small news. I apologize, I did went a little bit of too much time, but I do want to cover as much detail and my opinions on what I think that this has impacted the game as well. But I definitely look forward to what you guys have to say, so be sure to comment down below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video, and this is Vault, signing out.